Thanks, Anderson. Manju, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can go ahead. Hi, everybody. My name is Manju. I also work with Anderson in the PFMO team. I'm one of the operations and governance analysts in Health Education England. Thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Manju. And Krishnan, just for those that have just arrived, do you want to introduce yourself again for us, please?
Hi, yes. Hi, I'm Rupavati Krishnan, and I work as a PMO project manager for Surrey and borders. I work at we are an enterprise PMO team, so we develop something that's we think would be suitable for our organization, and I'm happy to show that to you and talk about that to you today.
Lovely, that's great. Just checking there's no one stuck in the lobby. So if I just tell you a little bit about what this session's, so we're going to be covering a number of things. There's a couple of PPM dashboard reporting described as dashboard reporting technologies available, and those are in phase and PM3. I'm going to be covering those shortly today. We're going to be covering in each of those just to give you a feel for what each system is designed to do and why they've been used, what point that we've come as organizations to use these systems, what the key features and some functionalities, any benefits of using it, importantly, and what approaches that we've perhaps taken to engage with our users, and what uptake we've had, and what lessons potentially we've learned if you were thinking of using a system of your own, essentially, any costs associated to the two systems that we're talking about. And we'll take time for Q&A as well. This session's and the session next week's come about partly because the people we speak to are wanting to hear from others that are using systems, and there's some people are on at different journeys, different points in the journey, essentially, and we just wanted to share that with you today, just so we've got a feel for who's on the call. Just really be interested to find out which of you are currently using, if you put your hand up in the chat, which of you are using a system at the moment. So if you just pop your hand up, and just so we've got an idea of who's using a system. Okay, so there's a few of you. Yeah. Okay, so there's 5 of you currently. That's great. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to hand over to Phil and Krishnan to cover their experiences of using InPhase.
Hi, Mike. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to start sharing my screen and say that first things first. Actually, it's not InPhase. I just need to put a clarification on that. It's actually an internal app that we've developed at Surrey and Borders. So we're a foundation trust down in the southeast around mental health. And during the pandemic, we were sort of front and center, really, in terms of sort of gold and silver and tactical advisory group. We were sort of put into those structures to help the organization. For my part, I helped with sort of a number of sort of the testing in the early phases and the antibody testing. And we sort of realized that, you know, really heavy manual processes weren't that great. And actually a number of things that we had dropped strategically in terms of priorities, with everything going sort of towards sort of our response to the pandemic, I guess it sort of introduced a new way of working for us, and that we did create with our Office 365 team quite a lot of apps to try and help us navigate through the challenges of the pandemic. And we had sort of previously pulled together and we had been working, albeit it was sort of more in its development stages, an app for recording and a register of all the projects going on in the trust. So I guess that's kind of what I want to show you. InPhase and Aspire are, I guess, other systems that we've been shown through Project Futures in the last couple of months that some other trusts are interested in using. And I guess there's a sophistication question about how ready are organisations for that way of working and reporting. I think the system is only as good as what you put into it. I guess everybody will tell you that. And I think it's probably the same for our log. But this is it. It's Power BI. It's SharePoint is sort of based behind it, and it gives us a register of all the different things happening in our trust. Maybe not everything from a QI perspective, because we actually have different systems for that, but anything that's sort of a strategic nature, we would like to think is recorded on our project log. So you can see that there's a managed programs section, and you can see all the different programs. There are way too many on here, by the way. We are doing a sort of an archiving process at the moment, but you can see within the sort of the programs view, if I just maybe go into task children and young people, so those are all the different projects, and you can then click into those ones and you can see. So you can see their outline vision statement, what projects, and then the benefits that should be picked up, albeit not a lot of benefits are recorded there at the moment, but it is a new program. I'm just going to go back and use a sort of the test one because this is live, so I just want to be clear not to use anything sort of too revealing at the moment going on our trust. But if I use a property project, we're decanting from our main premises at the moment, our HQ. So we've got a decant program here. So this is really the bulk of our app, where we've got the main bit of information going. So one of the problems we've had is we don't have project codes. You know, different departments talking about different projects with different names. I'm sure a lot of people on the call can relate to that, whereby we're not even necessarily talking about the same project half the time. So I think project codes and getting those titles right is, I guess, the basics and where we've sort of started, what their associated program is, and then talking, getting a sort of almost a project on a page type scenario where you've got your project scope, your project aim, and your project objectives. And we've put in little kind of pointers as to the difference between what we're asking for there. You can see in project objectives, we're saying, can we have a smart statement? And you can see there sort of what that is. Scrolling down a little bit on the summary page, you know, when's its start date, when's its actual end date, and then the assurance gateways that the project has passed through. So you can see there that we've got investment decision, delivery strategy. So that's based on the OGC gateways. I think one of the main reasons for creating our app is also to try and help navigate and help provide project managers with a little bit of assistance around what we'd expect to be seeing within a project, because all of this, obviously, we pull reports off, and that can be used for a range of different things, but it does help you really consolidate the core information that you'd expect to see. There is a sort of a roles and responsibilities page so that we can list the people who've been working on the project. So we've got start dates, end dates, days per week that they work on it, who's sponsoring the project, who the responsible who the SRO is, and which divisions hold the budget, which is helpful analysis when we're looking at projects across the trust to actually see how many people come up more than once, how many people are sort of over capacity. We don't use it as a strict resourcing tool, but we use it as help really kind of underline perhaps where we've got pinch points and pressure. There's a finance and strategy page, basically really around the governance and how the project is being decided upon. And then we've got the trust priorities as well. So we've linked here all the different priorities in the trust as well as the system. And we do some helpful analysis from this information to help us work out some of the golden thread things that are happening. Got Milestones tab. Again, this can produce a timeline, which Rupa can share with you the types of reports that it produces. But again, if you just record a new milestone, then you can start to see it listed there, and actually the report view a better visual. Gateways tab I'd mentioned already, but you've got your different phases, which again are based on the OGC phases in the sort of the main delivery part, and then you can see when they were signed off. You've got the function to be able to upload the reports that went to that gateway. So we find that really helpful. I think often, and I don't know if this is a problem for people, but when you're talking about projects and what phase they're in or what stage they're at, quite often you get some inconsistent language around that. So I think that the gateways information is really helpful, particularly from a sponsor's perspective, to be able to see where they're at in terms of the project's progress. We've got a RAID tab, so obviously risks, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. So you can record the different options there and add the record. Again, that's a really helpful thing. Again, high level PMO sort of, or ePMO type level, but to capture main information for the executive group to realise what the main issues are going on or risks going on with that particular one. And then we've got a benefits tab. Benefits, I suppose, are something that a lot of sort of colleagues struggle, I suppose, to record. Is that measuring, is that scoping happening really well at the start of the project? So we record, there is the function to record that here, but actually we found that this hasn't necessarily been used as frequently as we would like, but mainly because are we spending enough time in sort of scoping and planning phases to sort of do the benefits mapping? So we're tending to do that offline still in sort of the spreadsheets that we use, but there is that function to record those here. And then finally, sort of lessons learned as well. So it would be good as a PMO to keep capturing what we're doing well. So we've got a sort of a section there that we've just got it in one place. That is a whistle-stop tour of the dashboard that we've created. I'm wondering, Rupa, if you want to share the screen and just use some of the reports that we've got that typically reference and relate back to that.
Yes, thanks, Phil. Thanks for handing over to me. Yes, you would have seen the dashboard word film. It's not a sophisticated tool or anything, and it's not a project management tool, I would say. But why we created that, the reason behind why we created this is, NHS is a service providing organization. We need not be an expert in project management. We are all, most of the clinicians are all given projects to handle. They may not have project management experience, but they're given opportunities to handle big projects, small projects, and to make them think in the right way, like what are the basic necessities for a project, and that to make that clear to our project managers who are stepped in as project managers now and then, and they go back to their original roles. That's the main reason behind why we wanted to create this dashboard and make people in our organization realize, like, okay, we need to think about the scope properly, objectives properly, and what are all the milestones, when do we start and when do we finish, who are all the resources needed for our project. And then this really helps few people, they're getting used to this tool, and it really makes them think like how better they can run their projects. Now, this is the front end of the tool. We give people access to this dashboard and they enter the inputs. But behind the scenes, from the PMO point of view, we run some reports to see how well the program or project is going. I'm going to just share some Power BI reports from PMO point of view. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, we can see that. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me go with the timeline first. What we have done is just to see the timeline of the programs. SIP transformation is a program, and if you just drill down, you can see all the projects that's under the program and the timelines for each of the program. This is not all the programs, but these are all the key programs in our organization. So if you want to drill down further for each and every program, you can do it, and you can also do a milestone for each and every program, which is not here because this is a high-level slide, so there are no milestones, but this is the milestone for the program or for the projects milestones. And the more important thing that we look for is the dependency, because most of the time when projects or the workshops are done, when the projects are initiated, we don't have the right people across the table. And this is one of the tools that helps us to see whether the project team has really connected with the different departments of the organization who needs their input into a project when it's initiated, delivered, and benefits realized. So we see whether the projects are talking to communications, digitals, education and training, estates and facilities, human resource, pharmacy, or other dependencies that they may need for running the project. And this is just an information of SROs and program directors. This is another thing, like to check for each and every program, are they having the right leads? So say, for example, there is a project that is not having an IG lead. Do we need an IG lead for the program? And this is something we take it to our strategic change program board to discuss, to see is there a need for, do they have all the necessary leads to give input into their project? Then we look for from PMO point of view. These are high-level reports. These are behind the scene. These are not given to the project managers. But what we see is like what's the pressure for each resource. Some of the, say for example, we have a person who's working in 9 projects. Is it really feasible for the project person to do that work, and or is the timeline like spread it out so that the person can concentrate on the project or program? Is a kind of analysis we do, and we look into the project roles, like who's doing what role within the project. I think that's it. That's it for now. This is just an example of what we can run from behind the dashboard. And if you want, I'll just try and open one more report for transformation. Give me a second. It'll upload. The one we are seeing now is for all the programs, core programs across the trust. I'll open up one specific program where you can see the milestone tabs and things like that. Sorry, it's still loading. Give me a second.
Just whilst you do that, Rupa, if I just come back here, I'm noticing just some of the comments in the chat about finding the balance and sort of not overcomplicating it. I think that's really one of the main reasons with our organisation, and I guess learning from what we learned in the pandemic, that we didn't want something that was really, really sophisticated bells and whistles, because as an organisation, we're not necessarily there. We have pockets of excellence, but we don't necessarily have a one size fits all. But yet, with projects, there are basic information that you would expect to see. And I think just to emphasise Rupa's point, we never claim that this is a project management piece of software, but it is definitely a reporting tool that can help provide consistency in the way that we see programs and projects across our organisation. And really, it was a tool developed to have the sort of the bespoke discussion around the level of busyness, the clarity of scope, who's working on what, when, and to try and nudge and position projects in the right way around, particularly around gateway discipline, and providing that sort of level of rigor. So you know, it was kind of, that's where it came from. But we are mindful too that there probably are a lot of other systems out there that would potentially do something very similar and more. So, you know, I would caveat it in that way.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. If I can show this one particular program where you can see the project and leads for the program, the project status, all the projects under that program in one slide. And this is a big program, so it's going to 2 slides. You can see the project team, what we saw there. like what is the project name and what role the members are playing, and whether the member is internal or external. Sometimes we work with partnerships, and you can see the project timeline for each of the project here, and your project milestone Gantt. So this will give you the information of what your milestones are for each of the project. And again, as with any software or any tool, what you input is what you get out. So how rich the information, how quality your information is into the dashboard is what you get as the report in the form of a slide or a Power BI report. Hope that's all from my end. Any questions?
That's great, that, Krishnan, and thanks, Phil, for sharing that. Apologies if I missed the message about Inface. It is Power BI is part of Office 365, isn't it? And it has a whole host of packages within that. Power Automate and others being two of those. Do you need the Office 365 package to be able to use that Power BI?
Yes, you do need. And the app we were showing, the dashboard, is a Power app, and the report is what we run behind the scenes using a list from the SharePoint. Yeah.
And has it been well used? I think there's a message there from Dean. Apologies if he missed that. But is everyone using it? Are you finding people are taking time to complete it?
So that's a really good question. I think the answer is probably 50-50, if I'm honest. I think that the projects that have got a lot of project capability and know-how use it, and they understand the need and the reasons why we're using it. I think the capability and capacity for other programs, is potentially, it can be seen as an extra thing to do, but yet there's got to be an incentive back to the user that it does provide them with those reports. That probably saves them time on the reporting end. So I think, we've only been using it for about 6 months properly, so we're still at the relative early stages of our journey, and I would say that we've got some real good pockets of colleagues using it, but we're not fully there yet.
Sure.
Thanks, Phil. That's great. Elliot's asking if there's any templates you can share with us, download and send.
Well, what I would say is, and Helen has helpfully put in the chat about it being cloud-based and linked to the M365 tenancy. I think we have shared code with other trusts, and it would need some adaptation, and there would need to be capacity and resource sort of considerations there. But I think that the code is there to potentially share. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil. That's great. But generally, the comments have been, it looks good. It's appropriate, as you say, balancing finding the balance between a meaningful and effective reporting dashboard without over complicating it, and it looks to do that. So, and it's been positively received. You've seen some positive impacts and positive changes as a result of using that.
Yeah, I mean, what it's doing is it's the main tool for helping us at our strategic change program board, which is the conversation which we're really trying to mobilize and get behind our main programs of activity. And if it helps shed a spotlight on milestones, on sort of key activities, dependencies, it doesn't answer the question, it doesn't tell you the answer, but the information obviously frames the discussion, frames the conversation in which to be able to develop the portfolio and the program pieces. So that's really, what we use it for.
That's great. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Krishnan.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to Anderson and Manju now, please, and their experience of using PM3 as a reporting tool.
Well, to be honest, thank you, Mike. I'm going to be really operating on the fly because I have nothing prepared as my esteemed colleagues who presented the development. So PM3 is something slightly different. And I think my colleagues mentioned something which was quite key. They needed something bespoke and in a way unique to the way that they actually operate. And the same thing too for PM3. So PM3 is an industry standard tool. I've been involved with PM3 now going on 6 years. I've been involved in accessing many different or similar applications. I mean, probably about 60 plus, to be honest, because I've been through 2 procurement exercises and have led them both. And PM3 has actually won that hands down twice just because of usability. It all comes down to organizations and their capacity and capability in project management. Now, PM3 is not a dashboard. I was surprised to hear that term bantered around, and I wanted to know what to present today if I was here. So PM3 is really focused on program portfolio and project management. So it's about managing your projects and programs. Of course, there's some fancy reports that you could actually draw out of PM3, but its focus is really about that. And a part of PM3 or running in parallel with PM3 is, I would say, a few initiatives that we have as a portfolio office where we are building the capability of the user base. So they're running in parallel, and we have seen remarkable improvements over the years that we've been using PM3. What I'll do now is just to pop up the tool. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but I'll just try and pop it up and share my screen.
Yeah, we can see that, AJ.
Excellent. So that's something called a PM3 dashboard. I'm not going to go through it. I mean, we know what dashboards are. They're a composition of dashlets. They show different information, whether it's finance, whether it's risks, whether it's the milestones, etc. What this is actually looking at is something called a portfolio, and this is the power of PM3. Just to go back to something that someone said, they didn't want something to be overwhelming to them. PM3 is well set to address that, because you tailor PM3, and we have tailored PM3 based on our maturity as an organization. So usually users will receive something called a light user access, and they have the very basic functionality of PM3. So just, projects, or programs. I mean, my colleague just showed how theirs was set up, which is similar with the tabs, etc. These are the projects that are my specific projects, but I can see projects by clicking all projects across the entire organization. So these are projects within the regions and projects within the national teams within HE. The same thing for programs also. So clicking on programs, I can see programs across programs that are mine. So these are 2 programs that I'm running. I'm actually showing you a test database here. So these are not real programs and projects. But I can look across the piece and see other programs by clicking all across the organization. You can interrogate them. So similar to the other system. Again, as I said, these systems are largely similar. But of course, depending on your capability, you would have, other things that you would probably use. So looking at programs, we could also drill into a program and see the projects that relate to that program. The beauty about PM3, and one of the reasons why we got it helped us to do something called escalation or promotion. And I'm sure if the project managers on this call, they're familiar with that, where there's a clear relationship between a program and multiple projects. And the project managers could escalate things to the program manager, and they become aware of what's actually going on beneath that program. So they don't need to be running around and sending emails back and forth. There's a sense of what's going on, of the health of all the constituent parts of that program. And PM3 actually does that beautifully. And one of the reasons why we contracted with it. Just to open this and just to show you the shape of that from a pictorial sense. I'll just go here and just show you the work breakdown structure of this program. So this is a program, and this program has just 2 projects. Of course, you could have 10, you could have 15, you could have 20, how many ever. But once there's a clear relationship, you have the project talking to the program and the program talking to the project. You can promote things up, like milestones, for example. You have key milestones. There was key milestones mentioned in the other presentation. So things that you really need to keep an eye on. So those will be promoted to the program manager is aware. That's just one facet. So taking it even a level further up, you have something called portfolios, and portfolios are themes within PM3. And I'll just come out of this briefly. I know it's quite a lot. I'm just conscious of time and just trying to touch on the key things. So there's something called portfolios. So the Portfolio Explorer show you the different aspects or how the system is actually configured. And this is quite wonderful when you're working with other organizations, when you have some inputs from other areas to your work. Just like the other tool, PM3 is web-based. So anywhere you're at in the world, whether you're in Marbella, Spain, on the other side of the world, as long as you have internet access, you could put information in and draw information out of the system. But going back to portfolios, so this is a construct. This is how we've actually designed PM3 as an organization. So you shape PM3 the way that you want as an organization. So we have something called corporate portfolio. These are our directorates. You click on them, you could see what's within them. You could further drill down. So for example, I could say, okay, well, I just want to look at reports within the communications stream or the communications directorate. And anything within here, whether it's risks, whether it's issues, whether it's milestones, etc., you could further drill down into those and run reports against them. Similarly to what was shown on the other tool, you could have PM3 automatically does this for you. You don't have to develop reports. You don't have to run around and have the technical know-how how to put these things through. PM3, once you put information in, automatically does these reports for you. So as you can see here, this is an automatic timeline that PM3 has actually just developed, just looking at that portfolio. So you could see where you have bottlenecks, you can see where you're identifying challenges, etc., and where you may need interventions as a portfolio office. I can't see, Mike, if anyone is asking any questions, but I'll address the questions after. So I'm looking at things from a portfolio perspective here. As you can see, as I said, just to reiterate, PM3 is doing that for me. I could look at the benefits. We don't do benefits quite much yet in the organization, but of course, if they were documented within this tool here, you'd see the benefits against the various projects and programs and how they're actually performing across the piece, across the year, when those benefits are due to be delivered. Priority matrix is something that we're hoping to implement as well as benefits. We have some projects now looking at that, and we're hoping to start implementation from April this year. We'll be doing prioritization for the HE exec. Similarly to finance, you can look across the piece. So this is from a portfolio perspective. So what PM3 does is aggregates all those totals from the different projects and calculates them. So you could look at that from a portfolio office and you can see, yes, the overall budget, what is committed, whether you're overspending, underspending, etc. Okay, from a portfolio perspective too, you can run portfolio reports. I'm not going to spend time to run that now, but PM3 has a plethora of reports, 200 plus reports, if my memory serves me correct. Manju, you could probably confirm or deny that. But not only that, you're not restricted to the reports. You have something here within PM3 called a report designer that allows you to design your own reports. Okay, so, and it's just a matter of picking things and putting them on the form and creating that report for yourself. Okay, now that's just one facet of PM3, and I must stress that PM3 is about program, portfolio, and project management. But what we have done as an organization also, because PM3, as I said, is not really focused on that visualization aspect, although there are reports in there in a dashboard, PM3 allows us to link to something called Tableau. So Tableau is about visualization. And what we have done within Tableau is to link PM3 into Tableau and create what you're now seeing on screen called a dashboard. And now this is for the organization. So it allows our exec, it allows those who are not project managing to interrogate PM3 and get a sense for how we are performing as an organization against various themes, whether you want to look at it as against, you know, the themes here, or whether you want to look across a specific region, whether you want to look across just nursing, whether mental health, etc., you could interrogate it. And it works similarly to what was shown before. It's just a matter of changing. One moment, I logged in before and I've logged out. So just one moment while this loads. So just the dashboard speaks for itself. So for example, we can look across here. These are what we call key milestone deliverables or key mandate deliverables for HE. Clicking on that, I can see what has been completed. So this is drilling down. You can see what the mandate was, you know, when it was meant to be delivered and what's actually going on, right? You can return, you can look at risks. So again, this is across the piece. So I'm looking at the portfolio called, HE reporting portfolio. Clicking in here, you can click on it, see the red risks that are impacting that portfolio. You could see actually what's going on. You could drill further, hovering over. You can see the mitigating action that's been applied by the project manager or the program manager, and you get a sense of the health of the initiative that you're actually looking at. So there are a plethora of things within PM3 that links beautifully to a capability. One, if you are so inclined to manage your project or program using a waterfall, PM3 allows you to do that. And I'll just show you just something, just one moment, just try and get out of this. So just go back here, and I'm going to conclude on this point to just give you an opportunity for questions, and I'm speaking very fast. So just opening this. So this is a project plan specifically. Similarly to the other tool, within here you have, you start building a case, whether it's an initiation document, whether it's a business case, whatever it is, PM3 allows you to do that. So some basic information that you put in here, project description, scope, key objectives, impact of non-delivery, etc. When this information is in, what PM3 does, it amalgamates this with the other elements of the plan, and all you need to do as a user, you simply go to reports and find one of the key reports. Run me a brief, run me a business case, run me an initiation document. It does it for you without you having to think, well, how would I structure this? What is a business case? PM3 gives you the basic, and you can draw it out of PM3 into Word and continue building on that based on your own internal requirements. So that's one other aspect of PM3. There's also something called lessons learned. And here, I saw that in the other presentation. You can create or input lessons that you're learning. That's me just turning it on and giving myself the option for entering, anything that you've learned on the project or program. But going back to the different styles of project management, I mentioned waterfalls. So within PM3, you could capture things as milestones. Okay, so this is high-level milestones. Here, there are a raft of other options, or I would say columns, that I'm not really showing you now because I've tailored this to my liking. So PM3 allows you to tailor the content of what you're looking at. So you have milestones, you have work streams. I'm not going to get into all the technicalities of that. But not only that, you could get into some granular level planning. And this allows you to do that granular level planning. So taking those milestones and breaking them down. Okay. PM3 also allows you, if you so choose, again, going back to capability, you could also do some agile planning. And within here, it's just a simple Scrum plan. You can just move things across. You can create a backlog. When they are starting, you move them on. So you have a choice of what you would use as an organization based, again, on your capability. However, within HE, we run a hybrid. So whatever project managers want to use, as long as they're using this aspect of PM3, which is quite key for us. This is where we draw our reports from, because it allows the user to provide notes against a milestone. So where a milestone is key, you could comment directly against that milestone. You could also add key documents against a milestone. So this is where PM3's power comes out strong. So let's say you have a financial case for approval. That's a key milestone within your plan. You could add it directly to that line. So anyone who's viewing this plan, all your information is together in one space. So there's not a lot of searching around and learning and try to understand the system. And that is why PM3 has always won hands down when against its competitors, because the others you get a lot of bells and whistles, but the users struggle to understand the environment. So it's quite straightforward in terms of clicking around the tabs. If you're in a plan, everything here relates to the plan, whether it's benefits, whether it's you're running your risk register, that's a risk register. Whether you are doing your planning, whether you're entering finances, whether you're building your team within that plan. Yes. So all that is there, whether you're highlight reporting. So it allows you to do highlight reporting against the plan. Yes. So this is a project manager putting in those details. Okay, so quite a lot. And as I said, I'm doing this on the fly without, really planning. So I may have touched on things that, you might find irrelevant to you. But I'm hoping that gives you a sense of this tool. Very, very powerful, but it could be very, very basic because you tailor it to how your organization is in terms of its maturity. And I'll be quiet there and give you an opportunity for questions. Sorry for being so fast.
No, that was terrific, that, Anderson. Appreciate you've taken time to show that today. And it is, I've been using PM3 since I joined HE. It is a powerful tool. It's not just it does beautiful dashboards, but it is a tool for project managers, and it does work. The quick question from Karen Anderson: do you use Cube for planning to build into PM3?
Not specifically, but you draw information. I mean, Cube again is a you probably know more about Cube than myself. But yes, the outcomes in Cube, you could use them to build your project plans within PM3.
Yeah,
but just to qualify that, there's no direct correlation or connection between the two. You'll have to manually take whatever it is the outputs are from Cube and start entering them into PM3.
Yeah, that's great. A question from Andy Anderson: do senior management use this reporting? If so, do they look at the reports online, or do they still require reports to be extracted and sent to them?
Well, you know, senior managers. So some do. So the ones who are technically minded, they would use PM3 and draw reports out. That's one of the reasons why we got the Tableau element. So they pull up the Tableau on the iPads and they can easily interrogate that, more so than, you know, logging into PM3 and doing that. However, something that I didn't touch on, PM3 allows you to set up automatic reporting. And what it does, it allows the user to just put in the email address of the potential recipient, and PM3 would just send that recipient a report at the given time set within it. So no one needs to come in and interrogate that user. That key user would always get that report until we remove that automatic reporting. So that's the way that we get around it within our organization.
Lovely. Thanks, Anderson. Describe to people what the how you've been training people up on the use of PM3, Anderson.
It has been, I've trained probably about, I manage probably close to 850 people so far. So we took on the burden, I shouldn't say a burden because it's probably the better part of my job, of building the capability of our user base. It has been a while now. I mentioned probably about 6 years. So in the first 2 years, we just kind of tested with about 10 to 15 project managers, similar to what the other organization is doing. They said 6 months, and people loved it. They saw the outputs, they saw what was actually happening. Now we have 250 plus people using PM3. So from 10 to 250 plus and still counting. A part of that is the wonderful training that Manju and I deliver. We are very, very hands-on, not just in the training sessions, but after. So it's a part of, it's a major part of what we do in our roles, and that is building that capability. We know PM3 well. We don't need to pay the contractors to actually do that for us. So as an organization, we are saving some money there in terms of consultancy around that. But I'm sure I showed you the tool. And for those who are thinking that PM3 would suit them, it's not difficult to learn. You could see how intuitive it appears, very, simple and easy. So it's not something, I think it's something that anyone could take on if they have the capacity to do so.
Great, thanks, Anderson.
The data. Sorry, you asked the question.
Oh, you're looking. No.
It just popped up. So you asked questions.
Phil Ryan's message: automatic reporting. Wow, that would be impressive. Yeah, the Krishnan's question about how is the database and access rights managed internally.
So it's managed by my team and I. So we are the super admins within the organization. So we have what we have is an enterprise model. So we have a large number of licenses, and we manage that through training. We approach it by really focusing on project managers. So project and program managers would tend to get the license. The project supports, they would need signed off from their project managers. So they would need some. I'm trying to put it in a simple way, not to come across as if we are marginalizing or operating a favoritism type of approach here. But because project managers are the ones that really do the doing automatically when a license is requested, they receive that. And yeah, that's it, really.
Yeah. Just one more question. How do the projects gets entered into your dashboard? Like, do you have a process for projects to be initiated and then gets approved to enter into your P3 or PM3?
Yeah. So at the moment, and this is something that we are trying to resolve. So I'm leading a project called HE Pipeline at the moment, where we introduce, and I think I kind of alluded to it a while ago, where we're introducing prioritization. So we have a group that is actually looking at things coming into the pipeline and making a decision on what becomes a project. At the moment, we don't have that because we have, unfortunately, a continuity year on year where projects that existed, and I think most government organizations like that, would receive money from finance and they would run forever until something changes. Okay, so that is what happens now because something has existed since the inception of HE. Every year they continue unless a new stream comes in. So they just use PM3.
So how do you map those information? Like as a super user, do you have access to all the projects? Whoever is logging into the system and running the projects in that way?
Yes.
You get to see everything there then. Yeah.
Yes, we see it. So that's what I showed. If I just pop this back up again, just quite quickly, Mike, how am I for time?
We're 8 minutes over, but it's okay.
Oh my,
AJ, there's still 20 on the call.
So if you see this, so if you're seeing this is a portfolio perspective, okay? And because I'm logged in as admin, I have access to everything. Remember when I showed you that? I know I was going quite quickly. So clicking on programs, I'm seeing everything that exists. Okay, if I choose to, I can still tweak this. I can say just show me everything that exists within a particular locale. So I can say show me things just in the southwest, or show me things just in the north, or show me things just in the PFMO office, for example. So this is how PM3 actually works. So I'm hoping that answers your question.
Yeah, and the access right request comes to you, like my support officer needs access entry rights.
Yes. They would write to us to our generic email, and yes, we'll have that discussion, and then the license is actually set up.
Thank you, Anderson. That's
okay.
brilliant.
That's great. Thanks, Anderson. Yeah, lots of positive. Brilliant. Thanks, Anderson. From Karen, Tony, thanks very much. Really informative. Great dashboards. I have to leave. So yeah. Thanks, Anderson.
No problem.
Thanks, Krishna and Phil, if you're still around. I look forward to next week. But thanks for joining us today.
Hope next week is not so rushed. If I'm
you did a great job.
Yeah.
Just incredibly busy. Everyone's just so busy. We just don't have time for preparing for these things. So don't worry. It's totally fine. But thank you. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Krishnan.
Thanks. Bye.